In today's video, I'm going to talk to you about Intune app protection policies and why you might want to consider using them. So on the board here, you can see we've got an iPhone here, just so you know. It's running iOS, and we've got Office 365 at the top here. So when you buy Office 365, by default, it's not really configured to secure the data on the device itself. You might install Outlook on the device and connect it up to Office 365 so your users can send and receive email from their mobile devices from anywhere. But what happens to that data once it's saved to the device? What happens if it exits your organization? Or perhaps someone downloads something from elsewhere and perhaps sends an email that contains something dangerous within your organization itself. Well, there's many ways to protect against all of these things, but the foundation for that is using Microsoft Intune. So as part of a Microsoft 365 subscription, you might end up with Windows licenses, Office 365 licenses, and EMS, Enterprise Mobility and Security. EMS includes Microsoft Intune, and Intune is Microsoft's mobile device management and Windows device management technology. So if we create a set of policies within Intune, we license the user for it, then the device can also have a relationship with Intune where it receives data about the status of the device, but we're also able to utilize that to push policies to restrict what happens within the application itself or manage the entire device itself. Now, why would we want to do that? So I'm going to draw here one of the sort of problems that we see our customers normally talk about. And here I've got a cloud with box written in it, or it could be Google or another cloud services like that. And what we might be worried about is a user might, for example, download some of the applications from Box to synchronize files back and forward to the cloud. Or perhaps they've got a personal Google Mail address and they want to add that to their Outlook client itself. What we want to be able to do is prevent that happening. And there's two ways that we can do that. The first thing we might want to do is add a set of policies in Intune that enable us to block being able to access those services from the client itself. So we might say, if they've brought their own device, they're allowed to install the Box application. But if they download some data, they're not allowed to share it from Outlook itself. They're not able to share in and out of the application. We can configure that via policies based on the app itself. Or it might be that we don't want them to be able to add non-work accounts. And that's where we need to make sure that we go above and beyond the basic policies. The policies allow us, by default, if we're going to tick the boxes in the application itself in Intune, they'll allow us to be able to manage the whole device and stop the user from being able to add the application altogether. But they'll also stop us from copying and pasting in and out data or transferring data in and out. But if the user goes into Outlook, for example, and adds their Google Mail account, or perhaps they add their Box storage account in the Outlook app itself, the policies don't stop that by default. So we need to go into the configuration policies themselves and then add a configuration item to block non-work accounts. That effectively means that once you've got Intune installed on the device and you've got Outlook set up, Outlook will receive a policy to say, this can only be tied to one Office 365 tenant that's managed by Intune, and it can't have any other accounts. It can't have a connection to a second Office 365 tenant. It can't have a connection to Hotmail, Google, Box, or any of those services. So by using the configuration policies themselves and some of those app-specific configuration settings that we can supplement those with, we're able to make sure that although the user might bring their own device to work, or have a device where they've got access to some of these cloud services, we can make sure that the data can't leave your organization or they can't accidentally bring data that they shouldn't do